Hey everyone, how's it going? See if this comes live or not. Might go in and out for a minute. Anyways, how's everyone doing? Just my phone started blowing up. So I guess enough of you are awake to to watch the like a 1-2% drop. Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's pretty much just business as usual until something more substantial happens. But I mean, this is really. Let me just see. Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying, I mean, this is if you look at it on a small time scale, of course, like it can look scary because you have it. If we look at it on like a 5-minute time scale, it was a pretty nice dump, right? I mean, it was. Let's see. From the top there in about 5 minutes, it dropped like 3%. It was actually pretty interesting to watch. But when you zoom out and you look at weekly time frames, daily time frames, let's take a look at the daily time frame here. Look at a daily time frame. Actually, if you look at the daily time frame, you can see we've essentially been around this level for the last week or so. So basically in this regime, we've been there for like the last week or so. So I don't think it's too much concern yet. With that said, it's always reasonable to just check out where the 20-week moving average is, of course. So let's just pull it up. So here's our 20-week SMA and EMA, 21-week EMA. So the red line is the 20-week the SMA, and it's currently at just over 10,400. So I would say that would be the level to watch. I mean, week over week, this is still a pretty good trend. So yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy. And one of the things, if you remember, we said was, in lieu of the 20-week moving average, that we wanted to see, of course, is on a weekly time frame to continue to just systematically move up, right, and to stay above the 20-week moving average, which is exactly what we've done. I mean, if you just kind of look at the window here, right? I mean, we're essentially just moving up that channel. Not that the channel means really much of anything, but just to get an idea, I mean, this is exactly what needs to happen, right? And for the bull market to really get in gear is to have these subsequent tests of the 20-week moving average. And I'm not saying we're even going to test the 20-week. I mean, I still contend there's a good chance we continue on up. But if we do test it, just know it's currently at around 10,400. So still a pretty decent ways to go before we're in jeopardy of testing it. We're approximately 7.5% away from it, so nothing too crazy there. Let me know if you guys have questions, and I'll try to get to them. Yeah, I was actually about to go to sleep. If we take a look at some other assets, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, it's been slowly bleeding. And again, this is one of those ones that at this point, I think the, as we said, in terms of these macro moves with Ethereum, I even still have them on here. Looking at those December buys, like buys in December, and looking at their short-term ROI, we recognize that, it typically presents a fourth quarter opportunity, right? It typically presents a fourth quarter opportunity, and it's played out every year so far, essentially buying in December and then selling sometime in the first quarter of the year. At minimum, it has resulted in a 66% gain against Bitcoin, and at maximum, like a 1,700% gain every single year. And so, with Bitcoin right now, if it doesn't move sideways, which I still contend there's a good chance that it will. There's a good chance that it still just moves sideways, and Ethereum sees a move in the short term. But I mean, if we do test the 20-week again, you can easily imagine this scenario playing out again. Watching the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, maybe it comes up sometimes and goes back down, but essentially looking for a nice December buy of Ethereum with Bitcoin, and hopefully to see it kind of continue on up. Well, we'll see it. We'll see if the cards align. I mean, the stars have to essentially align for something like that to happen. So I don't know if it's going to happen yet or not. The ratio still is not too much different than it has been for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's around 0.0325, which is essentially where it has been. So not a huge change there. Link, it's at 1043. So I mean, yeah, it's basically just business as usual. I don't really think it's too much of anything. The only reason I jumped on was because I was getting my phone was blowing up, so a lot of people were curious as to what was going on. So might as well just jump on a live stream and talk about it, and remind you, of course, of the weekly time frame, which really is much more important than looking at these short-term time frames. Because on the weekly time frame, I mean, this is nothing, right? This is nothing. Looking at a 2 or 3% drop in the matter of 5 minutes. But again, we know that the 20-week moving average is ultimately our bull line of defense, right? This is where we would want to hold, and so we'll see if that happens, right? We'll see if we go back down. But you can see our general trend over the last several weeks has actually been up. I mean, if you look week over week, we're generally trending upwards. And so again, remember that if we do retest 12K, there is, I mean, if the last market cycle repeats the first successful test of the 20-week moving average, then it could entail coming back down to the 20-week, right? And this would be, by that point, the 20-week will probably be, I think we said imagine conservatively expect about $100 per day, conservatively, probably a little bit more, per week, probably a little bit more than that. So if we're looking at per week, and next week it would be around 10.5, and then the following week it would be around 10.6. By the beginning of November, it'll probably be around 10.7. So just recognize that this 20-week moving average is gonna continue to creep up on us, and it's going to be this changing level that we need to continue to hold for the bull market to stay alive, right? For it to stay alive in the short term. And if not, if we don't hold it, we essentially just kick the can down the road, like we have in the past when we didn't hold it and just came straight down to the 100-week moving average or the 200-week moving average, right? Is essentially kicking the can down the road. But so far during this test of it, we've actually done quite well. We've held it for over a month and straight, like a month and a half straight, and we're still approximately 7% above it. So for the time, I think really it's just business as usual. I mean, I wouldn't get too worked up over a little wick. If we go back down to the 20-week moving average, and of course we're going to want to hold the line. If you guys didn't see the last video I did on Bitcoin, you might want to check it out. I thought it was pretty interesting. But basically it was looking at all 10 years, so starting from 2011, because 2010 starts in the middle of the year, at least for the price data that I have and I think is reliable. So if you look at starting in 2011 and you measure the ROI from the beginning of the year, as I showed in this presentation, there's essentially 3 different types, right? You have the let me go back to the beginning. You have these up here, which all had 10x ROIs or more, 2011, 2013, and 2017. Then you have these down here, which were 2014 and 2018, which were remembered as years you would not want to be in crypto unless you were not. I mean, you wouldn't want to be long on the market. And then you have these ones in the middle, which we said, okay, well, let's make it between an ROI of 1 and 10, but it turns out they're all actually, by the end of the year, they all were within 1.3 and 2.6x, right? So 1.3 to 2.6x ROI. And with that in mind, you can see 2020 is right here. So the history hasn't been completely written yet on 2020. It's this dashed purple line. So But if it does stay between 1.3 and 2.6, which is bounded by these prior years, then of course it would put us at a price of Bitcoin by the end of the year somewhere between 9,353 to 18,707. And this would be in lieu of the idea that 2019, as we said before, 2020, as we've said many times, are accumulation years, and you can see that these are markedly the accumulation years we're talking about, and that likely 2021 will be an accumulation year. And the reason we say that, of course, is, even if let's just be even if Bitcoin closes the year at around 10K, I mean it could close it at 11K or 12K, whatever, but let's just say it closes it at 10K or something, and then 2021 is a 2x. I would still consider that an accumulation year because we're still essentially just playing in the sandbox at the end of the day. We're just playing in the sandbox, and we're kind of gearing up for what we hope is coming later on. And remember, if you look at these phases here from year, if you measure it like this, which I agree is somewhat arbitrary. So if you find yourself wanting to tell me that it's arbitrary, you can do so in the chat, and you would be right. We also talk about the running ROI as well on many videos. So this is just one way we measure it, or at least one way I measured it because I thought it was interesting. But the pattern using the definition for bull, at least so far, would be 10x or more. Probably this cycle we won't even see a single year where it goes 10x. So maybe we need to reduce it down to 5x or something. But so far it goes bull, accumulation, bull, bear, accumulation, accumulation, bull, bear, accumulation, accumulation. And so I would speculate that 2021 would be an accumulation, and just kind of recognizing that the accumulation years are expanding, right, each cycle along in lieu of the idea of lengthening cycles. So this is what I would expect. I don't actually expect 2021 to be that remarkable from the Bitcoin price perspective. Okay, so yeah, I mean it what it could do, of course, is it would be, and I mean if it goes to 20K, it will be a year to remember, of course, right? I mean we know this. If by the end of 2021 we see Bitcoin at 20K, of course this will be something that will go down in the history books. But when you look back on 2021 from say 2023 or something, you're going to look back on it and say, oh yeah, like that was an accumulation year, of course. You look at the longer term time frame, right? And I think in the, let me look at it on the BLX. And by the way, the price is 11.5 here just because it only updates once a day at close. So I think 2021 will spend a lot of the time still within this regression band, okay? And that's why I say that ultimately I think it will be considered an accumulation year, even if it goes back to 20K, right? Even if it does go back to 20K, I think it will still, I think that 2019, 2020, and 2021 will be remembered as accumulation years for Bitcoin. So as far as the price now, right, I mean, again, it's business as usual. I mean, if you zoom in on the daily time frame as we showed, the price has actually been at this level for the last week, essentially. It's been at 11.3 for the last week. So nothing too crazy, and literally every single day. Well, maybe not every day, but most days. I mean, if you're looking at the 11.3 mark, I mean, we were there today, we were there yesterday. By the way, we were there earlier today. Okay, so not only now, we were also there 16 hours ago. We were there yesterday, the day before, the day before, the day before, the day before, and the day before. So basically a week of data, we were at around the 11.3K level. So just there's nothing too remarkable about this live stream, right? I'm just coming on to say it's business as usual. There's really nothing too crazy. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have questions, let me know, and we can discuss those. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like, a thumbs up if you guys enjoy the content. Trying to grow the channel. I did hit 40,000 subscribers, so thanks for joining. Maybe we can try to go for 50,000 by the end of the year now that I've hit the 40,000 subscriber mark, but we'll see. So yeah, let me see if you guys have any questions. The Shaman says, "What's the likelihood of Bitcoin breaking 20K in February, then all-time high in Christmas 2021?" I'd say it's a pretty low percentage. Um, I would say it's a pretty low percentage. I think that. Sorry, what was the question? I was late. Um, oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't really think Bitcoin's going to get to 20K by February. I mean, it could, but if it does, I don't think it would be sustainable. So I would be looking at least at least another 6 months, 8 months out further than that to get to 20K. Would be my guess. Like the end of 2021 in general is where I would see Bitcoin potentially getting to a sustainable 20K. But yeah, I mean, this is something I've talked about a lot. Do you see altcoins performing in 2021? Yeah, I mean, some of them probably will because if Bitcoin is going to 20K, there will be stepping stones along the way, right? I mean, it's not just going to go straight to 20K, and during those times where it moves sideways, a lot of altcoins probably will perform quite well. Okay, so it contingents on. I mean, it's dependent on Bitcoin, right? I mean, if Bitcoin's going up to 20K, I'm sure. I mean, I would believe that there's going to be some altcoins that outperform it. Okay, I mean, no matter what Bitcoin does, there's probably going to be some obscure altcoin that outperforms it in any given year. But what you want is something that can outperform it year over year, which is often not the case, right? During bear markets, Bitcoin tends to be where you want to be, not obscure altcoins. So yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin slowly moves back to 20K over 2021, then I do think that there will be some altcoins that outperform it. With that said, though, the final push of Bitcoin to 20K, whether it's going from like maybe like 16 or 18K up to 20K, the Bitcoin dominance at that time will likely be going up, okay, during that time, and then it will turn around once it gets to the prior all-time high. But that last push to the prior all-time high will likely have altcoins taking a back seat to Bitcoin. Okay, would be my is essentially what I would presume, based on historical data, of course. Which one do I think will outperform Bitcoin, Link, Ethereum? I mean, yeah, I mean they could, and I mean the thing is too is if they do, you're paying for it, right? With units of risk. Okay, you're paying for it. Um, and one of the things too is, I mean, it depends on what your measurement is. If say Link goes parabolic in the last quarter of this year, and then you're measuring it like that, then maybe it wouldn't outperform Bitcoin in 2021. But if Link is I mean, if Link is at like $8 or $9 at the end of the year, and Bitcoin goes up 2x, I would assume that Link would go up more than 2x over the course of 2021. Let me know other questions you guys have. We're already bouncing back a bit here. Um, well, we're back at 11:03, anyways. So yeah, I mean, this is nothing too crazy here. Um, Let me switch back to the weekly. Is this weekly? This is 5 minute. Let me switch back to the weekly. Yeah, so I mean, business as usual. Nothing too crazy. Remember, just to keep the longer. It's more important to look at the longer term view, right? Like where we are, where we're headed. And actually, I think times like these are actually rather exciting because the general sentiment is good in the market. There obviously are a lot of bears out there, which I think is pretty healthy. Um, but I still think this is a really good time for crypto in general because I think we'll probably look back on these years fondly, right? In a few years from now, I think we'll look back on it fondly, and we'll look back and say, you know what, there's a lot of volatility here. But more or less we were trending up. And if you look at this kind of move, if you kind of just draw it like this and just kind of extend it out, something like this maybe. I mean, you can these moves here kind of just that extra volatility of Bitcoin, right? Kind of going down below it and above it, but more or less over the last since November of 2018, we've been trending upwards. Whether it probably doesn't feel like that to a lot of people, but when you look at it, I mean, it has been trending upwards just in its own Bitcoin type way, right? In its own Bitcoin type way, but it has been slowly trending upwards. And so I think the nice thing at this point, right, is time is on our side. If you looked at this market back in late 2017, time was not on our side, because at that point, we knew it's only a matter of time before the party's over, not kind of the feeling of gearing up for it. It was more so, okay, well, crap, like, okay, the party's over, basically. It's just a matter of, how good are you going to get at timing the top? How much do you want to gamble? How much do you just want to secure profits on the way up? Not really knowing exactly where the top was. I mean, I sure as hell didn't know it was at 20K. But I sold near the top. Now looking back on it, and it was only a portion of my position. It wasn't like the whole position, anyways. I don't want to sound like it was everything, because it certainly was not. But I mean, I sold on the way up. But now looking at it, we're in a regime where we're building up, right? I mean, we're in this regime, right? We're in this regime where we're trying to slowly work our way up. And even in this regime last cycle, it sometimes felt like we weren't going up, because we had all these 20% corrections, right? 30% corrections. But when you look back at it, it was trending up, right? I mean, it was trending up. Same thing here. There's a lot of corrections, but it's still generally trending up. And this is ultimately what we want to look out for, right? There's no reason to make sensational clickbait titles. There's no reason to do anything like that. I'm sure tomorrow you'll see about 15 different YouTubers talking about this 1 or 2% drop is a major crash, or is Bitcoin going back to fill the CME gap? Or is it going back to 6,000? Right? You'll see this type of stuff. But we know, I mean, this is nothing more than business as usual. It's nothing to get too worked up about. Yeah. So make sure you guys subscribe if you like the content, and give the video a thumbs up. Let me look at some of the comments here. Theodore, I'm not saying I'm not, using the word say stupid about the CME gap. I'm just saying that I wouldn't necessarily bank. I mean, I personally would not bank on it filling before I bought Bitcoin. Like, I already own a lot of Bitcoin. I would not sell it on the idea that we have to fill the gap. Questing keeps saying something about physics as a Darwinian system. I'm not really sure what your point is. Will Ethereum's market cap surpass Bitcoin? If it does surpass it, it probably won't be this cycle, and if it does, it probably won't be sustained. When do I think Bitcoin will lose its #1 spot? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'll be this cycle. I mean, it might not lose it in the foreseeable future, but if it does lose it, I could maybe see it in the next cycle potentially losing it. But even then, I would be somewhat skeptical, and I don't think we could have any clue as to what coin that would be. I'm sure a lot of you would be opinionated on that and would show me what coin you think it would be. But I mean, maybe Ethereum, right? I mean, Ethereum definitely has the best chance, but I don't know. I mean, for now, I'm more so focused on. I think Bitcoin is going to stay number one for a while. Do you think the cycle is lengthening by less than 20 weeks per cycle, 20 to 40 weeks, or more than 40 weeks? Um, well, I mean, less than 20 weeks implies less than half a year, so I think it would be more than half a year. Um, 20 to 40 weeks would imply, maybe getting closer to the end of 2022. So I would probably say more than 40 weeks per cycle, but if I'm understanding you correctly. I also made this video a few days ago. If you guys remember this one was just looking at the ROI, the 1 year ROI of Bitcoin, right? So if you look at the 1 year ROI and looking at these peaks, right? I know it looks similar to the logarithmic regression curve and measuring the price compared to that, but this is completely different. Um, it's looking at the 1 year ROI and the general trend down and the general accumulation phase and projecting out and looking at lengthening cycles, something like this. So I mean, I would say it's probably going to be in 2023 would be the next peak or somewhere in that ballpark. Any thoughts on the timing between the next Bitcoin top and the altcoin cycle top? Well, generally speaking, altcoins peak at a few different times during the cycle. They tend to do the best at three separate times. One of them is when Bitcoin first gets above the 20-week moving average. They tend to do quite well, which means that already happened or at least started. It could continue on if Bitcoin continues to stay healthy. We could see a continued pump. I mean, it's possible to see it continue to pump for months. The next time would be when Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. Altcoins will probably pump. And then the final time where we see like a massive altcoin pump will probably be at the end of Bitcoin's run. So generally, after Bitcoin peaks, you probably have, 1 to maybe 3 weeks where altcoins are kind of going crazy, and people are just so proud of themselves because of their altcoin picks, right? I've seen people charge money. I've seen people charge money to to get their altcoin picks in a newsletter, and the people that are charging money, like their background does not suggest in any way, shape, or form that they would have the slightest idea which one is going to pump, right? The general idea is that when Bitcoin is at the end of its cycle, you could pick any number of coins, and a lot of them are just going to go up if there's a shred of marketing available to that coin during that time. So yeah, I mean I think it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity because you a lot of these Telegram groups will pop up too, right? These altcoin picks, and someone will say, okay, I picked such and such altcoin. You just list off 10 of them. I've seen this common tactic actually. You list off like 10 altcoins, and then you write down, you note what the price was when you mentioned it, and then you just wait, and then after it peaks, you then mention what it peaked at. But you don't ever. But these guys, a lot of these guys, they don't actually ever tell you like to sell, or they don't say they're selling, or they don't say that they think the top is in. They just wait until after it's peaked and it's heading back down to then show the distance between when they called it and whatever the price peaked at. Right? I mean, a monkey could do this, right? There is even a study a while back where they had something like like in terms of stock picking, and it performed better than a lot of like fund managers, like these hedge fund managers. So don't fall for this stuff. I mean, don't fall for the these are my altcoins of the week crap. I guarantee you that a lot of these guys have no idea what they're talking about, and they just pick these coins until the market dumps, and then these guys just disappear until the next opportunity comes up. So look for this. I mean, especially look for it in the during the next bull run, because they'll pop up everywhere. I guarantee you they'll pop up everywhere. There's gonna be a crypto expert around every corner. Probably about the number of YouTube channels talking about crypto will probably go up by an order of 10, a factor of 10. Um, so remember, everyone will become an expert. Everyone's a genius in a bull run, because it's not hard to pick a coin that'll go up. The key thing is to to ride these coins for years and years, so that I mean, if you're say, imagine a world where you're buying a coin at the end of the market, and then it goes up a few times. You don't take profits, maybe you take a little bit. It's okay. What you want to do, right, is you want to have large positions before these major pumps, right, before that time, so that you're ready for that money. You're ready for the dumb money when these guys are pumping the coins up. You're there to sell it to them. So you want to be on the right side of the equation, not the wrong side. Bitcoin still at 11.3. And another thing too, a lot of channels will have videos that they'll literally publish like a monthly video on 10 altcoins to make you a millionaire this month or this year. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious how many people, like, if you actually go back and look at these videos over the last year, like, they're basically all wrong, right? They're basically all wrong. Um, but I guess maybe it's more for entertainment purposes. I don't know. Link is still doing okay. It's at 10.45. Bitcoin 11.3. Let's actually look to see how Monero's holding up during this time, because it's actually been doing pretty well against Bitcoin. So it looks like Monero is actually doing quite well still. This is that parabolic move we were talking about. We were anticipating, back in August, we said we expect this parabolic move of Monero against Bitcoin, and we are seeing it play out. So even with this, these pullbacks, the parabolic move of Monero against Bitcoin continues. So I think that's reason to be optimistic on Monero, is that it still is seemingly doing well against Bitcoin. I don't have any dot risk bands. Dot hasn't been around long enough to have any risk data really for it. Yeah, my wife did give birth a few days ago, so now I have my third son. So all three boys are sleeping right now. Someone says bad time to get into Monero. I'd probably say so. Again, you generally don't want to be buying into parabolic moves, because it's such a huge risk. It's better to be buying down here, and then when it gets up here, you're waiting to sell, not looking to buy. I mean, you could buy and it could still go up, but if I didn't own Monero, I certainly would not be buying it at this point, especially not with Bitcoin. but I do already own some. So it's looking to sell it. Not all of it, obviously, just a portion of it. But you want to be buying in these accumulation regions that we talk about on the channel. You think your boys are sleeping, but they're really buying Bitcoin on your iPad. You know, if they're buying Bitcoin on my iPad, um, I think I'll give them a pass on that one. I have 3 kids. Yes, that is why I look so tired. It's because one of my kids is literally 2 days old. He's literally 2 days old. And even he knows that that this even the 2 day even the son that I have that's only 2 days old knows that this is business as usual, and any attempt to tell him not is not really taken lightly, because I mean he may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. It was 2 nights ago. Sorry. Um, so let me take a look at the linked Bitcoin. Actually, do I have that one up? No, I don't have that one up. Glad you guys like the videos. Yeah, I mean, someone says Link Bitcoin looks so bullish. This is what I've said all along, right? I mean, like, how do you not want to be part of this trend? You know, people always talk about like, oh, what's the coin of this cycle? I mean, look at this. Like, it's legitimately up. At the peak, it was up 12,000% against Bitcoin since December of 2017, and it's currently up 7,000% against Bitcoin since December of 2017. Right, and this is why I always say, how is this a coin that you don't want to be a part of? Like, right? I mean, like, if there's a good chance that Link is the poster child of this market cycle. And it can be scary at times because, it does go through these like boom and bust cycles, right? But I mean, if there are ways to take advantage of that with the risk stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's generally a pretty good pattern. When you DCA, do you purchase directly into Bitcoin or fiat? I'm not really sure what you mean. I mean, it depends on what I'm buying. If Bitcoin dumps to the CME gap, how bad will chart structure look going forward? I mean, even if it dumps to the CME gap, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, to give you an idea, the CME gap it's right. It's like 9,600 or so. Like it's right here. I mean, this would not. It would be a blip, right? It would not change anything really. I don't know if people are actually going to use the tech. I mean, maybe. I'm sure. I think it depends on what you mean. Like, I mean, there will be some people that use it, right? There's people that are already using it for stuff. Um, in terms of the world, I mean, probably not, right? And again, I'm not here for the tech. Like, I'm not here to come off as being more altruistic than I am, or I'm not here for the arc. I mean, let's just be honest. And I don't think most of you guys are either. Make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Again, we like to look more at things from a more data science perspective. That's why talk about these types of charts and whatnot, rather than just pulling up TradingView in every video. So make sure you guys subscribe if you do like the content. Someone says he's here for both. Well, let me ask you this: if in 5 years you could either have made, say, I don't know, like whatever, make up a number, like, would you prefer to have made a lot of money, or would you prefer to see the world using blockchain? Like, if you could only pick one, like, which would you prefer? Like, let's say, would you prefer to make $1 million with crypto, or would you prefer that 50% of people you meet are using crypto in their everyday life? Like, what would you actually prefer at the end of the day between those two options? The Art of TK says, who's the Ben Cowan of stocks? Who can I follow that's not BS, has risk metrics, etc.? Actually, one of the charts I have, funny you ask, guess what it is? It was a video on stocks. So if you want to look at it, here it is. Here's the S&P, here's the risk metric. Here is where we currently are. Back in March, I did make a video informing everyone of this great buying opportunity down here. You can go back and look at it. It was called like the S&P 500 unprecedented crash in stocks or something, right? Everyone's going to be telling you down here, the sensationalist YouTube BS, telling you that the Great Depression is coming, right? Second Depression is coming. And no, I mean, it's absurd. It's not, it wasn't then, and it's not now. Yeah, there could be slight corrections in the market, but again, you don't see like 40% drops every day in the stock market, right? And this does not just happen every day. Like I would not presume that there's going to be another 40% drop in the short term. So yeah, with stocks, I would say, I mean, we are getting close to back up here. So this is a data point where it almost got to 3,600, the S&P. It was at a risk level of 0.8, so I sell about 10% of my portfolio when it hits 0.8, and it actually worked out quite well because it came back down, and now it is heading back up there. It's not quite at 0.8 yet, but it's not even at 0.75 right now. I think it's less than 0.75, so it's still not too high, the risk level anyways. And if you visualize it on the secondary y-axis, right, the risk on the secondary y-axis, you can generally see that at the 0.8 risk level, we don't spend a ton of time above it, right? There's not, I mean, note this goes back 100 years, not a ton of time above the 0.8 risk level, which is why I sold 10%. By the way, this is on the premium list if you guys are unfamiliar. It's intothecryptoverse.com. And then this is, when it's down here below 0.5, it's typically a really great opportunity. And you can see we came down to 0.29 in March, which we hardly ever get to that level. Like the last time we got to that level was back in 08. Okay, that was the last time, 08, 09, last time we were at that level, which is why I made that video back in March. So, and here it is on a shorter time frame. You can see the times we've reached the 0.8 risk level since 2000. So we reached it 2003, 2010, 2017, I believe, 2018 actually, and then 2020. Remember, you guys can check out the premium list if you want at intothecryptoverse.com. And you get access to a whole lot of stuff, a premium Telegram chat room, an alerts channel, which is where I post my analysis on the markets, a weekly video, weekly report, and a risk dashboard. So check it out. Also, you guys should check out the public Telegram channel. I actually haven't posted that one in this stream yet. So check out the public Telegram channel if you guys want to join the chat. Let me go back. I think I missed some of the comments. So yeah, so people are saying they choose the money for the most part over the tech. Some people say they choose both. That was not an option. I did not say if I say that you can choose both, a lot of people are going to say they choose both to make themselves feel better about themselves. I'm asking you, if you had to pick one, would you prefer the money, or would you prefer that half of your friends are using crypto in their everyday life? This is what I'm asking. I did buy back, not all of it that I sold, but I have been buying back, and I'm still buying back. Yeah, I'm the bin count of stocks, as someone says. Someone says, do you believe in on-chain analysis? I do have some on-chain analysis videos. So if you go to my YouTube channel and then just type like on-chain, like on-chain, there should be several videos. I think I have on-chain analysis for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. So you can check those out. Graydon, would love to have you on board if you sign up. By the way, if you do sign up, check your promotions tab in your email, because that's where the welcome email normally goes. Do I sell 10% of each stock? I mean, so I do own some stocks. I do own individual stocks, but there actually is something to really be said about owning index funds, because it gets you the whole market and it helps you protect wealth. I understand like the idea, there's the idea of growing wealth, and you can do that with a focused, where you're really focusing on a few assets that you think are going to be really doing really well, and then you can do index funds to protect your wealth. Okay, so a lot of you guys might not think this is important, but if the crypto market does what we hope it's going to do and think it's going to do over the next, say, 3 to 4 years, you will want to protect that wealth, right? You're not going to just want to continue to throw it at random altcoins forever, okay? Like, I guarantee you that doing it forever will, well, most likely it will not work out for most people. So you should become aware of certain index funds. And I tell the ones that I buy on the premium list, but yeah, there's a couple index funds that I buy, but are mutual funds, and I think that you should become aware of these types of investments, because you do want to protect that wealth once you are able to accumulate it. So a lot of times when you say, okay, are you selling 10% of each stock? A lot of what I'm selling are just mutual funds, okay, and the reason is because by getting it all, by buying the market rather than an individual stock, you're removing your idiosyncratic risk. Of course, with crypto, we have a lot of idiosyncratic risk, because we're only picking a few coins. This is focused on, say, growing wealth rather than preserve it. I mean, most people aren't investing in crypto to preserve their wealth. They're investing in it because they want to see really high returns. Now, some of you might say, well, for me, I was doing it to preserve my wealth because I live in a country where the currency just went down the toilet. But the point of the matter for most people in crypto, you're not trying to preserve that wealth, you're trying to grow it really quickly, right? This is the idea. So if you do grow it really quickly, then you want to preserve it, And I think one of the best ways to preserve it, I mean, this is not financial advice, but I think one of the best ways to preserve it is through index funds, right? And you want to find index funds with low expense ratios because there's actually a lot of data to suggest or to support the idea that the higher expense ratio on an index fund, the less return you will see. Sometimes the return, the raw return, will be better than say a lower expense ratio, but then when you actually when you factor in the expense ratio, it's almost always not worth it. And there are managers that beat the market, but they tend to not stay there. So just my 2 cents on stocks. And by the way, when the time comes, there will be a day of reckoning in crypto, and you're going to be presented with that opportunity to either sell or over the course of a few months to be selling, or you're not, right? You're either going to do it or you're not. And if you do it, then you can get accustomed to the new normal and build from there. And so hopefully at that point, when that month, whenever that final day is, and crypto goes through another extended bear market, the channel will pivot to focus less on crypto and more on other stuff, right? I mean, this channel is called it's called my name, right? But we talk about cryptocurrencies for the most part, but we do talk about other assets from time to time. We talk about the S&P, we talk about Tesla, we've talked about a few other things like precious metals and oil. But the focus, of course, is on cryptocurrency, and that's because I think that's where the best risk-adjusted returns are right now. But there will come a day where that will not be true, and I'm not going to make video after video for a year straight when the prices of crypto are just going down, or I think they're just going to be going down. So then it would be time to pivot to other things and talk more about other things like stocks, maybe dividend stocks. More so precious metals, maybe some real estate videos. This is the goal that is about making money, right? And right now that I think among the best vehicles to do so is with cryptocurrency. When that no longer is the case, then I will not focus on it as much anymore. So just to give you guys a heads up, the nature of the channel will change over time. Okay, the nature of the channel will change to focus on asset classes with the best risk-adjusted returns. And right now, I think that's crypto, but it will not always be the case. Is it possible 11.7 is the local top and not 12,000? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content and give the video a thumbs up. Let's try to get to 200 likes if we can. Bitcoin follows gold. Not really. I mean, over the last 10 years, gold has not done much of anything, and Bitcoin went up like 10 million%. So I'm not really sure what your argument specifically is for how Bitcoin follows gold. Bitcoin's back at 11.36. Link still at around 1050. Monero, still doing pretty okay against Bitcoin. Link, same exponential path it's always been on. Yeah, business as usual for the most part. The Limitless Life, I'm glad you appreciate the channel. It's Litecoin dead forever. I personally would not buy Litecoin at least until Bitcoin's at its prior all-time high, as we showed before. That is when it tends to pump, and not really too much before then. So if I just pull up the Litecoin Bitcoin chart, as we've said many times, it was in 2017, the first quarter of 2017, which is where Litecoin really pumped a huge amount. And the first quarter of 2017 for Bitcoin, as you guys know, was when it got to its prior all-time high. Okay, the first quarter of 2017, and so for Litecoin, as I've been saying for the last like year and a half on my channel, I expect that this trend will more or less continue on, right? And I mean, some of you might say, well, in hindsight, it's easy to say that. I mean, I've been talking about Litecoin for a long time. My contention on Litecoin has been that this trend will continue, most likely until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And I don't think that Bitcoin will be getting to the prior all-time high, at least a sustainable all-time high, until somewhere over here. Okay, so I would personally stay away from Litecoin. And the downside, of course, is that anytime that Litecoin pumps like this, I get a ton of people on my channel saying, "Oh, hi, I told you so. You said it was going down forever, but look, it's going up." And then I remind them, like maybe it pumped a few percentage points, but it's still down. Well, let's take it from there. So like it's still down, even at the top, 77% against Bitcoin. Now it's down 83% against Bitcoin. So again, it's going to go down, probably go back up. We go back down. I would personally just stay away from Litecoin until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. This is not financial advice. This is just what the data tells me. The same thing goes for XRP. Okay, same trend for XRP as for Litecoin. Can we get 8 more likes? I mean, can we get to 200? Let's get to 200. Make sure you guys subscribe too. What happened to Bitcoin Cash? I personally, these forks, BCH, BSV, I don't really touch. I just tend to stay away from them. I mean, I'm not saying you can't make money with them, but I just don't tend to bother with them. Eventually, someone says eventually all alts bleed versus Bitcoin. I don't think that Link got that memo. I mean, yeah, like you could say that it bleeds sometimes, but it's actually the reverse trend, right? Instead of like the trend of Litecoin, right, where it just goes down and it kind of oscillates like that, right? Link is basically just going up and oscillating around that. So yeah, eventually Link might go down against Bitcoin, but I mean, for the last 2.5 years, it certainly has not gotten that memo that all alts would just bleed against Bitcoin. And 2.5 years is a long time for it to hold this trend, and it's a really long time. Most people forget that the price of Bitcoin was $3,800, like 7 months ago, and for Bitcoin. I know you guys are talking about the news, like the withdrawal suspension stuff. As I said before, right? The news, and I know this is going to make people upset. I just don't think the news really matters. I just don't think it really matters. During bull markets, bad news just gets ignored, and during bear markets, good news gets ignored. As I said in the last live stream, in a bear market, you could, well, let's say, yeah, in a bull market, I mean, any bad news, right? Whether it's exchanges getting closed, people just really don't care, right? In a bear market, if you say an exchange gets closed, like minus 30%, right? And as I said in the last video, if someone names their dog Bitcoin and they lose their dog, minus 30%, right? It's like nothing, any slight negative thing in a bear market, the market will just dump. So at the end of the day, the momentum is just going to take the market lower and lower, and in a bear market, and in a bull market, it will just take it higher and higher. And the news, it just blips along the way, right? I mean, when you zoom out and you look at the general momentum up, and you say, oh, there was an exchange, there was some suspension on some exchange, right? During a bull market, like, what is it? You can't even notice, like, you don't even notice like what that even is, right? It's just like it's like a pixel. In a bear market, right, as I said before, like minus 30%, minus 40%, something like that happens. So but at the end of the day, it was going to do that anyways, right? It was going to do that anyways, and it's just it's just people reacting. So it depends on the type of market we're in. If we're in a bull market, no one cares about bad news. If we're in a bear market, no one cares about good news, and that's just the way it works, in my opinion. This is why I don't talk about the news, because I just don't think it matters. I know the news can be interesting, right? Like if there's a maybe there's a reason you want to know about the news, because it's just like you just want to know about what the news is for crypto, right? Like that can be interesting, but not for me, not necessarily from like a price perspective on, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's more so for like, okay, what do you like? It's just more entertainment, right? As opposed to, okay, well, what's the price going to do? Do you guys have any more questions? Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll try to get to any last questions. But I mean, as it seems like Bitcoin's at least stabilized for the time being. Counterpunch Rock says, "Hey Ben, apologize if this was asked already. Would you mind briefly touching on what was in Bob Lucas's analysis that made you tweet about being more open-minded regarding Fourier cycle theory?" So, okay, let me be clear. So, like, yeah, like I made a tweet saying I'm more open-minded. Like I was probably being a little bit too closed-minded to the Fourier cycle theory. First of all, like I will say that I still think that Bitcoin will not get to a sustainable 20K for another 12 months at least. Okay, I still don't think that Bitcoin will get to six figures for another like 3 years or something. That hasn't changed. My point is like, with his analysis, it was more so maybe I was just misunderstanding exactly what he meant, because he put out a tweet recently where he showed he showed projecting Bitcoin to peak in 2023 like I did, but also claimed that it was part of a 4 year cycle in terms of like left and right shifted peaks. So it's I'm interested to hear his point of view more. Now other people, if there are other people that promote 4 year cycles, that are going off of, I don't know, different types of analysis, which I don't agree with. But at least with Helm, I think that it's reasonable to at least kind of hear that perspective rather than just being completely closed minded to it. Again, it doesn't change my view on the fact that cycles are lengthening, but I'd be interested to hear the take on how both can be true, I guess. So that was the purpose of the tweet. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. It's pretty late here, so I should probably get going. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Not that this was a crisis, but we're still pretty much humdrum business as usual. Again, if you guys like the content and you want access to the exclusive content, you can always check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. So check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content. And also, we do have the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the chat and just put. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will go ahead and sign off, and we'll see you next time. Bye.